So the announcement of Ragebound was really unexpected for me. I did not see a game like this coming, but once I saw it, I knew how to play it. Um, at the time of writing this, I've put about 15 hours of playtime into Ragebound, and I've beaten easy mode, I've beaten hard mode, and I've completed the secret level with both characters. Uh, and I know it will take a while, but I am going to go for S++ on every level. But it's really difficult. I don't know why, but for some reason, Ninja Gaiden really brings out the completionist in me, even though it's not an easy game to do so on. So, after 15 hours of gameplay, I'm pleased to say that Ragebound doesn't disappoint. 2D pixel art games are never going to die. I'm totally here for it, and I think it really proves that realism isn't necessary for deep immersion um, in games. Animation is timeless, but that's a topic for another time in another video. Um, Ryu Hayabusa ranks among one of my all-time favorite characters, alongside Link, Samus, and Leon Kennedy. And while I'm not playing as Ryu here, playing as Kenji feels fresh and exciting, and Komori as well. So this game really captures the essence of the series. It's brutally difficult. It requires precise platforming, and of course, there's nonstop action. When it comes to the stories and the characters, Ragebound and Ninja Gaiden in general isn't known for its high art storytelling, but I will say that it does punch above its weight when it comes to storytelling basics. These enhance the experience, at least for me. The plot revolves around ninja clans, demons, shadowy government organizations, this time the CIA, which is pretty par for the course for the series. Kenji starts as a brash, inexperienced ninja from the Hayabusa clan, which despises demons and kills them on sight. He's contrasted with Komori from the Spider Clan, who have a Yakuza-like vibe and are willing to ally with demons for their goals. Their merger, this isn't a spoiler, it happens right at the beginning of the game and it was been advertised, where Komori's spirit inhabits Kenji after a life or death situation, is a very clever mechanic that allows the constant banter between the two ninja and some character development as the story goes on. I'm a big fan of mechanical storytelling, and this is a very clear example of it, to use a game mechanic to enhance the story. Kenji's dutiful Boy Scout personality really clashes with Komori's more cunning, kind of popular girl edge, creating a nice chemistry that's fun to watch evolve from disdain to respect. There is a predictable trope that, you know, enemies coming together against a greater threat, eventually coming to respect one another, will require a sort of sacrificial ending for one of the characters. I think if it's executed well, gives it a bittersweet conclusion, but the growth that the characters have and the respect that they have for one another makes it a more impactful ending, in my opinion. The gameplay mechanics are very simple and complex. Basically, you run around and slash things. That's the gameplay loop. It's a very simple loop that's been around since the dawn of video games. And Ninja Gaiden really kind of eases you into the complexity that it has to offer. If you've watched any of the trailers, you'll know that the two characters merge, and they're really two different attack sets. So basically, they layer on foundational concepts first, basically movement with an intro stage. Ryu Hayabusa's father. It's traditional Ninja Gaiden. You run, you slash. There's no other real tricks to it. Kenji is the close combat character, and for the first couple levels, you master basic movement and platforming. You try to kill demons as efficiently as possible. Komori gets introduced on her own as well. She has ranged attacks, but shares the same movement, so you get more practice with the movement, but you get the full range of what Komori has to offer. By Act 3, their abilities merge in nice mechanical storytelling, creating the full move set that's simple individually, but like any game, you have to learn to remember which buttons do what attack and when to use them in the best situations. Um, this, I think, is simple but brilliant by game developers. It really leads to emergent situations that the devs themselves might not even have anticipated. Later on in the game, you do get the ability to purchase different abilities for your. It's not called Ninpo art, but your Ragebound art, and also the different secondary attacks that Kumori has to offer based on the situation. The controls themselves and the level designs really encourage fast, precise gameplay with very little time to think. It's very much a reflexive game. If you're going to get the S plus and S plus plus rankings, you can't plan everything out. It's very much like, have you practiced? Have you done the get good, your due diligence to get good? You die, you reflect on the segment that you died in, and then you just run it again as fast as possible. Oftentimes, you'll see that the slower you go actually causes more damage in a way. I think it's quite brilliant the way these levels are designed. There are new unique twists and gimmicks to each level, like a motorcycle chase or a jet ski escape. They function and control very much like you're not on it, but it's slightly different, so it kind of breaks up the redundancy of the core gameplay loop and helps it really feel fresh. And I would say like the majority of levels have some kind of cool environmental gimmick that really helps the level stand out. So for me, the bosses are a big highlight in these types of games. They have really cool designs, and fighting them and beating them is always very rewarding. On the easy setting or normal setting, you can't be lazy with it. I expected to die at least once per boss, just because there's no such thing as damage rushing a boss or just tanking the damage. If you try to do that, you're gonna lose. You do have to move around. You do have to learn the enemy move set and take the time to do that. I'm an older gamer. I'm 38 years old. I've got a wife and 3 kids. I don't have time to play a lot. Maybe an hour a morning, and less if I do stuff like this. And often taking the time to learn an enemy moveset is frustrating to me because it takes time, and I know that it would just be nice if I could just cheese this boss in some way. But if you take the time to do it, if you push through, then it does get easier, and you find yourself making more and more progress on each boss, each attempt. There was only one boss that really gave me a lot of trouble in normal mode, and then another one in hard mode, which really ramped up the difficulty. But I would say no boss took me more than 2 hours of playtime to beat, and that was the exception. Most bosses took maybe a half hour of consistent attempts. So if you've been following my account on X, you'll really know that I love it when the boss design is done in such a way that the player controls the pace of the battle. It's done this way a lot in Souls games, where you can get that extra hit in, but you might have to take a hit for it. Or if you get that extra hit in, you're going to die. You can hit the boss whenever you want, but you might put yourself in a bad position. This I really, really love. If you've been following my Ocarina of Time Ocarina of Time playthrough, you'll know that Ocarina of Time is notorious for making you wait before you hit an enemy, especially bosses. I think that while it's not quote-unquote bad game design, if you don't make the fight interesting in many different ways, it can be bad game design. In this game, you can damage the enemy boss to your heart's content, but you'll put yourself in a bad position if you get too greedy with it. Every boss is like this. Every boss has its own moveset, and every boss will push you farther towards that get good goal. So the pixel art is incredible. The sprites are incredibly fluid. You know, the idle animations, even when, you know, Kenji or Komari is just hanging from a ledge, they're kind of swaying back and forth. The backgrounds are really well done, and there's been a number of times in the game where I've just taken a second to pause to look at um, the background art. The boss designs, the enemy designs, everything is high quality. The music is is good. I wouldn't say there were any standout tracks that would make me want to find like a heavy metal version of it and play it over and over again like I do with some games like Mega Man X. Um, but when it comes to the artistic presentation of this game, it is really top notch. If you're a pixel artist or a musician, um, definitely pay attention and take some time to enjoy it. And if you're not one of those people, take some time to enjoy it as well, because I've looked into it, and it's not an easy thing to do to create such high quality art for these types of games. Okay, when it comes to the difficulty and replay value, um, challenge is an extremely challenge as a concept is probably the central pillar of a video game. Um, there has to be some type of challenge, and some games are known for higher challenge or less challenge. Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, along with Souls games and other Ninja Gaiden games, they're on the edge of this is going to be a challenging game, and I understand that it's not for everyone, but I feel like even casual players, if they pick up this game, if it were too easy, they would lose interest as well. There comes a point where the ease of gameplay can cause a loss of interest, just as the other side. If a game is too difficult, players will lose interest as well. Ninja Gaiden Ragebound definitely is a higher challenge bar for people. So if that's not your thing, I would highly recommend you just play it on normal mode and give it a shot, but it is still going to be difficult. Normal mode took me about 3 to 5 hours to complete. The bosses, as I mentioned before, take multiple attempts. They're hard, and there are some difficulty spikes, especially when you put it on hard mode. There's more enemies in the levels. They have varied attacks. There's fewer checkpoints. There's more obstacles. But because of that, and I think that this is an important point, the higher difficulties do actually feel like new experiences rather than just you're running through the game again, but you take more damage and the enemies can take more damage. I think that's a very lazy way to do difficulty, but I understand that some games don't necessarily have a way around that based on their design. But Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is a pretty simple game at its heart, and I really appreciate the extra effort they put in. I remember playing Metroid 2 Samus Returns for the 3DS, and while I did enjoy the game, I was just really disappointed when I booted up and played on hard mode, and it was just simply, oh, you take double damage and the enemies take double the hits. That was it. That was all I could expect. With the Ragebound, you're going to be thrown in different situations. Parts of the game that were easy at one point are now not easy. And again, it might seem like even though you expect that it's just going to be the same thing again. And in some ways it is, but it doesn't feel that way. And so that's something to just kind of keep in mind if you're looking to kind of get your money's worth out of this game. And on that note, this game did cost $30. I did get it for 10% off as a promotion for intro. $30 I think is a good price point for this game. My own personal rule when I'm considering just the cost versus the amount of time I sink into the game, I like to get at least 1 hour of play per dollar I spend. Okay, this is not saying anything about the quality of the game itself. I had someone on X come at me once because he thought that was a horrible metric to judge a game by, and it's like I'm not judging the whole game by. I'm just saying there are great games that are really short, and there are great games that are really long, and there are horrible games that are really short and horrible games that are really long. But For me, when I spend $30 on a game, I should get at least 30 hours of playtime. That's my own personal rule. You can take that if you want. Right now, as I said, I'm sitting at 15 and a half hours, and I've only gotten one S++, and I really do think that's going to take a long time. So I'm pretty pleased with the length of the game. If you're only going to play it once through, I would still recommend it just because of the quality of the game itself. But just know one run through it is going to take you about 3 to 5 hours, depending on your skill level. So if I had to assign a score to Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, I definitely give it like a 4.5 out of 5 or a 9 out of 10. There are some bosses that I felt were a bit too redundant, as in they looked very similar, or the fight didn't feel as epic as I'd like, or they were too easy. But overall, the game is beautiful. It is extremely difficult, and it is very memorable. I do think players are going to be going through this game for years to come. Maybe speed runs and different showcases on, S++ runs, no damage, stuff like that. There's precise gameplay, character-driven story, and if you're a fan of challenging 2D action, I would buy this game immediately. You won't regret picking it up, even if you only give it one playthrough. If you've never played a game like this, while I have said before, it is challenging. It is easier than some other games out there. So if you want to give it a shot, definitely do so. Appreciate the art, appreciate the music, and you'll have a great time with this game, whether you're a hardcore Souls player or just a casual player.